I think when it does break out over 30, it doesn't take much for it to kind of jump up to that 50 mark, all-time high mark. And I think we're gonna exceed the previous all-time highs. I mean, this is, it's probably a broken record, but look at the unprecedented amount of stimulus, money printing. It's just it's incredible. And then the other way to win with silver, of course, is on the industrial side. Silver as a commodity, to me, is exciting because it has the industrial application. So when you see copper and base metals move, silver kind of responds positively to that. But when you get into a situation that we're in right now, where you have inflation, you have incredible amounts of money printing, silver has the best characteristics of gold, which is the monetary characteristics. So it responds very well in an inflationary situation. But also looking at the industrial applications, if economies around the world start to produce more things, or infrastructure expenditures go up, 5G, solar panels, electric cars, silver is integral to all of those things. So that's really what attracts us to it. If we look towards look back kind of to March, almost a year ago, when we had that massive sell-off in both metals, and it was kind of reminiscent of 2008, the crash in 2008. So if you look back to 2008, even 2000, those market crashes or those kind of shocks to the system that initially impact gold down and then silver down with it, but then recover over time. And in the future, you see that initially gold will outperform. People pile back into gold. It's kind of a safe haven trade. But then you also see later, following that, you see silver lag, usually about 6 months or so in the 2000 crash and the 2008 crash. You see gold move first, silver lag, silver come up to gold's level in terms of performance, and then maybe 6 months after that or so, you start to see it kind of exceed the gains percentage-wise on gold. And this feels to me like the gold silver ratio is now breaking down, and to me it seems that we're kind of at that inflection point where now that there's infrastructure expenditure and stimulus in the infrastructure area, and economies are starting to around the world starting to move back, improving slightly. The industrial applications and the industrial demand of silver start to pull that price up higher. And we're starting to see this now. I think this is when silver breaks away from gold and really starts to outperform. That's why I'm comfortable saying that I think the silver price is going to go insane here in the coming months, certainly in 2021. It's so hard to believe, right? So if that, again, you have the two ways to win on that. You have that inflation, or you have that kind of response to the increase in money supply, and then you also have the industrial applications as well. And as those things move, I think we could that maybe that ratio does respond and breaks down below 30. And does that. But I don't think we need to see that happen to have life-changing gains. Even that, I think just as soon as silver breaks through that $30 resistance there, I think that's going to spur on some very exciting movements certainly for these equities as well. I think it might be a matter of time before even the auto manufacturers start to step in and secure their supply in some way or shape or form as well too. So that sounds plausible. Devaluation of the U.S. dollar, but in the sense that it, in the near term, doesn't, loses its reserve currency status. I don't know if that's necessarily possible. I'm not an economist, but but I don't think that needs to happen to see double or triple in gold and more than that in silver, as we talked about earlier. The silver responds even more aggressively to this type of thing. It's just anytime that you increase the the amount of dollars against a hard asset, the value of the hard asset denominated in those dollars goes up. It's a simple equation in my mind. Again, I don't know if it has this kind of complete disastrous end where where it loses all reserve status. It's where it's your firewood. I don't know if we'll be heating houses with burning dollars, but I I'm confident that the value of these precious metals, any store of real value, is going to go up in relation to that. I think I've seen it, across hard assets, and I've seen it across soft assets and consumer goods as well. Now, it's not reflected in the CPI or anything like that, but obviously for reasons that it doesn't benefit the banks to do that. But it's clear to me that we're seeing inflation. Silver is increasingly valuable to manufacturers of goods. And increasingly valuable to infrastructure and also to investors, and becomes even more so a monetary metal. I think it's a really good place to be, moving into production on a very, very large, world-class supplier, basically, of a mine of silver. So I certainly wasn't expecting the Reddit thing. So it could be something, just a continuation of that kicks it up, and kind of the these investors taking delivery and just continuing to do that of the silver, and I think that eventually catches up to the real trade price. So I think it's just a matter of time. I don't know. I think it's actually the foundation's been set. It's just a matter of time for that to really kick in. I always think if you're kind of facing a situation like that's maybe overwhelming, or that's difficult to go through, then the best thing to do in my mind is always kind of write a list of what you got to do, and make a plan, and put that into action, and look at it practically, right, and be determined and persistent. Not so much of a catchy philosophy as rather just kind of looking at things practically, and it's a very difficult thing to be into when you're the world feels like it's kind of falling apart. I think for a lot of people with this pandemic that could be the case, but I think there's probably a fair bit of hope out there too, to get involved in some of these themes that are happening right now, like the inflation theme, and what we're seeing here with silver and Bitcoin. And so I think even though it's a challenging time, there is still a lot of opportunity. I think the most important thing is just that is getting going, not being afraid to fail on something. I've failed on tons of businesses, but a lot of times I see people and come across things where it's kind of a little bit of a fear to start, or fear of failure. But I think that embracing failure, or the potential of failure, is probably one of the best characteristics when it comes to building businesses. So, I guess people always say, "Oh, it's never been easier to start a business," and blah blah blah, online, this and that. But I think for a lot of people, it is they're hesitant to kind of go out and try something and fail. But failing, is a part of the process, right?